Every once in a while, we decide to really go all out making promotional ads for our show. We really wanted to blow something out for election season because that's really the bread and butter of a show like Full Frontal. We're like excited to go into election season. Everybody gets pumped up. You do a big ad campaign. You're like, watch our election coverage. Woo!
You know they're gonna run Don Jr. in 2028.
Why are you doing this?
Because I know 2016, you thought you had it in the bag, and we've been living in a straight-up horror like ever since.
This is a campaign based on horror movies, and this is a horror movie election. The point of this campaign is get out there and vote.
That's the approach that we're taking. Like, don't get fooled again. Don't get cocky. A whole campaign was built around that, and I think it really worked. I was very excited about it.
So vote, or else.
Or else the social safety net will keep getting slashed. Oh my God. I've got a knife. I am so sorry.
This project started with a really simple premise. Our lives and political world feels like we've been trapped in a horror film, and the only way out is to vote.
When you come up with a campaign for a show, it's like all of these teams figuring out what works. And usually there's a lot of back and forth. But in this case with the horror campaign, they presented it and I went, I love it.
The idea started because we were working on these horror posters. We internally started thinking how cool it would be if we put Sam into this horror world and like started creating these kind of horror scenes, these iconic horror scenes.
It really lit up our creative team, and we could pour all of our frustration and rage and stress into ideating around this premise. It was just such a rich single log line.
This administration has been a literal nightmare and a horror show. So what could be better than actually tapping into something that I really care about? Horror films, love them. It was like so organic. It was chef's kiss.
We shot in widescreen, we used anamorphic lenses, we tried to replicate filmmaking approach and color palette, angle.
If there's one thing you need to know about Sam is that she likes playing dress up. She likes playing characters.
She played 6 characters inside of a 2.5-minute trailer.
I'm a very layered performer. I can do multiple character trances simultaneously.
Every time before we get on camera, I could see her just kind of dropping into the character. And I think the costumes really, really brought that home. Whether it's the Drew Barrymore scream wig or the trompe l'oeil burns that we put on her face with the knives for Freddy.
What's the matter, Mikey? Election getting a little too loud.
All we do is get this is the nightmare.
And you'll never escape.
Watching her transform into her version of that character, I think, was one of the funnest things on the shoot.
So I was playing Johnny Depp's character because I'm often confused for Johnny Depp. Completely understandable. Sitting on this bed and like these claws come up through the bed and pull me through the bed.
When it came time to shoot the bed gag, the entire art department had to raise the entire room 3.5 feet. We had to bring in a fake bed that had a hole in it for 2 grown men to pop their arms out and pull Mike under the bed.
They would like stick their hands up through and grab me and then pull me back down, and then I would fall into this little chamber underneath where we were all sort of packed together. The hand comes up with the claw and like slaps a sticker, an I voted sticker on my chest, and the guy has to do it from underneath the bed, and he's doing it completely blind, and he's got these claws which are like 8 inches long and they're real metal, so he's got to be able to do that without impaling me directly through the carotid artery, like my eyeball or something like that.
We have all these kind of clever match cuts. Mike passes through the bed and he falls. We match cut to Alana hitting this dirt floor.
And they built, it's a 2.5, 3-story giant tube for Alana to be inside of.
You couldn't see inside of it, but you know nothing good happened in the well.
Looking at the details of the Silence of the Lambs scene, that dog that Buffalo Bill holds is part of the threat. And I said, we have to have the dog.
It places the ballot in the basket or it gets the hose again.
Okay. I love that you use paper ballots.
Necessity is the mother of invention. I was like, dog Bjorn. We get the practical benefit of her not having to hold the dog, but we also get Sam wearing a dog Bjorn. I remember in particular her finding her voice for, we called her Buffalo Sam. Once she dropped that register, it was mostly my job not to laugh and ruin the take.
Alana and Sam have their own like secret language, and they have their own like pacing and style with each other. For the most part, you can just step back and let them kind of direct each other. Alana's crying and then Sam is making fun of her for crying, and like that was all ad-lib. They just went for it.
We start getting into a little bit of like, oh, you're gonna mock me now? She's about to murder me.
I'm gonna turn you into several rompers and a sundress.
fun of me?
The final scene is I Know What You Did Last Summer. And the iconic thing from that movie is hitting somebody with a car. And I just really wanted to have this crazy impact. Our art department found this dummy that was articulatable at the joints. We had a bunch of wires rigged to the dummy so the tension and impact would pull the dummy in certain ways. We wanted to make sure the hat didn't come off, just drilling screws into the dummy's head.
And it was the funniest thing. I was like, what are we doing in the car? I guess we're going for a nice fun drive, getting away from the murderer. No, we're hitting this motherfucker. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of being in the car and knowing that you're just gonna hit a life-size dummy at full speed.
It does exactly what we wanted, which was it hit, it bent, it bounced off the windshield and flipped over the car.
Don't screw it up this time, okay?
And it was the last thing we shot right before COVID hit, so it was very intense.
Coronavirus had hit, we went on set, then we realized it really hit, and then we all went home.
And I think had we known what we know now, we wouldn't have done the shoot, but no one had any information about what was going on. Really, within a matter of 48 hours, 72 hours, it changed dramatically. And then it was like, oh, this is real, this is here.
And now here I am on Zoom in my apartment, and it's like month 100.
Shooting for those 2 days was probably the last time I was in a small enclosed space with other human beings. I have not been together with people in that way since. And that was a really long time ago. And I really miss it. Oh.